All right. Hey,
Hey,
welcome everyone. Thanks
you're
for joining us
welcome.
tonight. And we got a show for you.
Yes, we
So,
do.
entertainment, of course.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about, do you feel that we're out of the woods yet with cryptocurrency and what's going on? The G7 summit going on right now. And what's up with El Salvador and the IMF? And then let's touch on relationships, real
Yeah.
personal relationships,
hmm
which intertwine into our relationship with crypto and money.
Yes.
So,
Definitely.
welcome, Bill. How are
Well,
you?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Jeff Brody, and I'm joined by Bill Sheltima, and we're bringing you Bitcoin Brody and the Crypto Cadets, and thank you for joining us. If you're
Yeah.
watching us
Thanks
on
for coming.
Facebook, be sure to give us a thumbs up, drop a comment, share it out with your friends. If you're on YouTube, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and all that great things. It helps
Mhm.
support us, and it keeps us motivated to keep
Yeah.
rocking and rolling here.
Yeah.
And we really would love to have your comments and feedback and know, are we hitting a note with you? Are we striking a chord? And are we making uh, a move in the right direction? So thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Welcome.
So, a lot of people are talking like, oh, everything's good. We're going up. We're going up. We're going up. The YCOP is over. I don't know. It dumped pretty hard last night. I've seen a lot of big, long red candles on Ethereum. Ethereum dumped a lot harder than Bitcoin, but Bitcoin came down, and there was a lot of red across all the alts. There was dragging pretty much everything down. How did you feel about this? And are we out of the woods yet?
I'm going to say no, we're not out of the woods. It doesn't feel like we are, because as I was watching Bitcoin over the week, this past week, I thought, I'm going to buy back in, I think, with the little stash of USDT that I have. But then I thought, I'm going to wait a little bit. And then it went up. It pumped up a little, went up about 6,000. And I thought, darn, I just missed my opportunity. But then it started coming back down again. So it's like, it doesn't feel like it's over. To me, I feel like there's a aspect of confusion going on with a lot of the people in the space, not knowing what's really going on. Even people that can read what's the charts are saying, and Wyckoff and the what's the other guy? I can't think of his name. The other
Elliot.
Yeah, the Elliott wave theory. And because you have to factor in so many other things that are going on and that are kind of new, whether it's a celebrity that's talking about it. Oh, there it is. You have two crystal balls now. And you have, because you have, on one hand, you have the celebrities discussing it, good or bad. Then you have the governments discussing it, good or bad. And then you have what's actually happening on the ground, good and bad. And it's like, well, what's happening? We don't know.
Yeah. And, I think it comes back to, it's like, my crystal ball is kind of cloudy here. So,
Yeah, very.
Like I said, I got to send it back out and get it tuned, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about this. Is that it comes back to, we got to drag everything back to, what's our plan? Why are we in this? What's our why? What's our strategy to so that we can be driven by the plan? So I think that's this is screaming fundamentals.
Yeah.
While all that red was going on, there's a whole lot of fear, but those are the best acquisition times, right? I know we're hoping for lower numbers.
Yeah.
Because people are talking, oh, it's going to go, into the Bitcoin's going to go into the 20s again.
Yeah.
Ethereum's going to go below 2,000. But if we look at it and say, okay, if Bitcoin was 65,000 US, and if it touches down at 32,000, that's 50% off.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good sale.
If
Ethereum sits around 2,200, that's 50% off. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Not financial advice. We're not financial advisors, but it's just simply observation. Right? We're just observing the market.
Yeah. And, it's the question to always go to, do you believe in cryptocurrency as something that's going to be around for the duration of our lifetime and past? Do you believe in Bitcoin being a store of value and that it's just going through its growing pains as more people begin to adopt it, as more people begin to understand what it is, coming as newbies to it, as myself, that are learning as they go. If you can answer that question saying, yes, I believe in it, then this shouldn't really bother you. You'll look for those lows that you'll buy into, and you slowly accumulate your Bitcoin over time. Dollar cost averaging.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing is the dollar cost averaging. I always have a challenge with that. When I have money, I'm kind of an all-in kind of guy.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to teach myself the DCA restraint, because it can go lower. Yes, it can go higher, but it can go lower.
Yeah.
And do I believe in cryptocurrency? Well, let's ask the president of El Salvador.
Yeah.
Right.
El Salvador.
So that was pretty cool. He actually signed a bill in El Salvador to recognize Bitcoin as legal tender. Right.
Well, there's an area in Salvador called Bitcoin Beach. I was reading today, and they've already been using it as a mode of payment and purchasing. They've already been doing it on this area on the beach. They have, I think, 42 vendors, different people using it to buy and sell. So what they're excited about in the article is that it starts to help the people in the lower income, the lower rungs. They're starting to increase their level of living, their status of living, and that's what they're excited about.
No, it's great. If you look at it, there's very few people in El Salvador have bank accounts. Yet we talk about, well, if they don't have bank accounts, are they going to have cell phones? Well, apparently it's 1.4 cell phones per person in El Salvador. And the reason is that, it costs money to call different carriers. Right. And so you have multiple carriers with multiple cell phone numbers and multiple cell phones. So that's kind of how that works. So it's like the mobile network is there. They've leapfrogged into that. So that means that you have a smartphone and you have a wallet, and you're in business.
Yeah. It really, as one of the smallest countries in South America, that's a pretty big feat, and it really can set the precedent.
Yeah. Not to get political, but the IMF and a lot of people aren't going to be happy with the breakaway from the the world reserve currency in favor of Bitcoin. But here's the thing: is that the president of El Salvador realizes that the currency that they've chosen now is going to go through massive inflation and devaluation. So he's looking for something to bring stability. And then, as his discussion, and we were talking about this, was that he announced that, they were talking about tapping the steam coming off the volcanoes to generate electricity to power their own Bitcoin mining.
Yeah. Pretty good. Some ingenuity there. That's amazing,
Yeah. Got some green energy, clean and green and sustainable. It makes a lot of sense, So that there was a number of South American countries that were announced interest in this. There was Panama and Paraguay and Argentina and Brazil and Mexico even indicated that there was some interest in this. So there, and see the domino effect going on.
Yeah, and that's really where you see the beauty and the power of cryptocurrency, because it's decentralized. It's available to the common man, and the potential for their own financial growth is massive, right? And there are a lot more of them there are of the elite, or the people in the upper end of the 1% of those that have the money, let's say, as opposed to the have-nots. And this obviously is a threat, because it takes away their power, it takes away their control. When people can begin to create their own wealth through cryptocurrency, it really then it creates a very dynamic contrast. And then that's where you have the fear coming out, and the different types of plays happening in the market, trying to dump pump and dump and trying to manipulate the markets to keep that away from the people that, can profit from it.
Yeah,
And
so that's the whole thing, is that there's all kinds of fear, uncertainty, and doubt being spun. You take a look at what there was the conversation of, well, this isn't good for the world, and you've got the G7 summit that's going on right now in Cornwall in the UK, and President Biden's talking about on the agenda is going to be crypto and ransomware. And I don't necessarily think that cryptocurrency and ransomware go hand in hand. Simply, yes, it's been used for that, but that's like saying, terrorism and the reserve currency are related, and they're not. It's just a means of moving wealth from one area to another. And look at this, like the pipeline issue, where they were able to track down where the ransom payment was, and it was recovered. Right? If it was unmarked paper bills, you don't trace and recover that.
No, it gets washed and then it gets back into the system.
Yeah. Whereas, like, the whole thing that people, need to be aware of is that when we're doing transactions on the blockchain, it's like, it's like writing with indelible ink. It's not going away. You can't cover over it. It's once it's committed to this decentralized exchange, and it's cryptographically recorded on the blockchain, where there's a public and a private key that lock and unlock that transaction. So all that information is available. So they were able to use that, track it down. And then, there was some FBI sleuthing, I imagine, and some cyber tactics that allowed them to reclaim the funds. But, we're hearing, like, I heard one story that was, well, one way to stop cryptocurrency, stop Bitcoin, is to make it illegal to exchange it for the local tender. And, we all know that ship has sailed, and that's not going to happen. And there is, you already have large corporations and banks that are getting into this, and investment companies. Do we really think that we're going to make cryptocurrency illegal?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
PayPal's involved with it. Visa, MasterCard are involved with it.
Yeah.
So,
there's just so, and we've got all of these ETFs that are, have been approved in, Canada and the US. There's numbers of ETFs coming forward. So this, it's just fear, uncertainty, and doubt tactics to, as our friend Curtis says, hold the door open a little bit.
Yeah. We're kind of in if there was to be a movie that would come out similar to Terminator, it would be like the crypto wars that we're going through, right? It's still not a settled issue, and we're dealing with the growth of it, the stops and starts, the baby steps, the leaps, the falls, and everything that goes along with something that's really brand new. And I think now it's becoming so much more in the face of people through media more recently than, let's say, in 2017, because I didn't really know anything about it in 2017. It's only been the last year that I really came to understand that there's a thing called Bitcoin. And I'm probably one of millions in that same space where it's like, I didn't hear about it a year ago. And so there's, this whole new influx of new faces looking at something that's brand new.
And the thing here is that any news, good or bad, is really necessary to raise awareness around cryptocurrency. I think that these South American countries, talking about Bitcoin legal tender, is going to raise the credibility of cryptocurrency market as a whole. In order for us to bring stability into Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market, we need to have much more significant amounts of money in the system. Like, I'm talking, we need to be 5 to 10 times what we have today. So that means we need to get into 10 to 20 trillion dollars in the market.
Mm-hmm.
And the money's not going to come from the existing people, it's going to come from new people.
Yeah.
Right. And even a 10 or 20 trillion dollar market cap is still insignificant. I mean, gold alone is 11 trillion dollars or more.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the year that we're going to see a lot of people moving into cryptocurrency, and we're seeing the adoption of cryptocurrency as a tender and it being accepted as trade. I mean, you've done some crypto sales, right?
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's pretty amazing. So new people coming into the market space, even India, instead of talking about banning and making cryptocurrency illegal, now they're talking about passing a bill to make it an asset class.
Yeah.
Right. So this whole fear, uncertainty, and doubt thing is, going by the wayside.
Yeah.
But they're going to play it hard, right? Because we know that fear is the greatest motivator.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely.
We think about our, like Anthony Robbins. He talks about the pleasure versus fear, and it's like, fear, like pleasure, really doesn't motivate people a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if your life is on the limb, you get motivated. You move pretty quickly.
You sure do. Yeah.
Which, let's talk about life and death situations. A friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, you know what? God, I could use you guys to come and do a show for us on relationships and crypto."
Yeah.
And life is all about relationships.
Right? It is. It is.
Friendships. It's families, lovers. All of these things come into play, and then then you bring in money on top of that, right? What's our relationship with money?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting. So my friend goes to me, "Well, it's like his one friend, his girlfriend's unhappy because he's spending all his time researching and doing stuff in crypto."
Yeah.
And kind of my thing is like, well, he should be in, they should be doing this together. If he's going into crypto to make gains or to do something to change his life, then I think it's something that, people out there need to take an interest in, have at least a conversation. It doesn't mean that the other party in your relationship is going to necessarily be as excited as you are, but I think that if you have that conversation, it just gives you some common ground.
Yeah.
What's your thought about that, Bill?
Well, I would have to agree with you. And, as a life coach, relationship coach myself, it's a huge part of a relationship. A healthy relationship is having healthy finances and having a healthy financial mindset. And yes, and I can attest to this as well, that initial exuberance and excitement of something that's brand new that can actually give you some really good financial gains is exciting. Plus there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
And any guy that is somewhat analytical, which most of us are, and we want to be successful, we want to be the breadwinners, we want to be seen as the suppliers and the protectors. This is something that we'll naturally want to learn about as much as we can. And so when there's that uptick in time spent understanding what a chart is and how to read all that stuff and reading up about coins, and if you're getting to the point of reading white papers and the technical side of things, then it takes time away from the relationship. And so there needs to be a conversation as to what your motive is for doing this. And it's never usually that you don't want to spend time with your significant other. It's that you're doing this for the betterment of the two of you, to have the kind of life that you want to live. And it's going to take a little bit of a time investment on his part. And if there's a way that you can bring her or him along, and that's where, for an example, ShakePay is kind of nice that way, because two of you can have an account and you can both be shaking your phone and getting free Satoshis every day. And so there can be something as simple as that, to where you both feel connected to something you're both interested in. There will always be one that's more interested in the other. for the most part, I think, in most relationships. So I think that it really comes down to, again, communication, and also communicating with yourself. Why are you doing this? What's the motive? Are you doing it out of fear? Are you doing it out of greed? Is it you see it as, this is my one opportunity to finally do the thing I want to do so that I can live the kind of life I want to live and have the kind of freedom? And if you can convey that, then I think that'll go a long way to having smoothed over a lot of issues and arguments.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge, right? And it's like these relationship challenges pop up, even work, right? It's that, because it was like, my friend was saying, well, I was talking to one friend, it was about cryptocurrency, and I was talking to another friend, she's doing graphic arts work, and that's, my friend's keeping, has lots of work for her to do, so she's working all the time, and the boyfriend's feeling neglected.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all about balance and communications. And I think that you hit it on the head, Bill, is that, communications, right? What it all comes down to is that if we have effective communications and we're talking and we're sharing our feelings, we're sharing our thoughts and our ideas, and we're sharing our why are we doing this? Right.
Yeah.
Because maybe we want to go to Hawaii on a vacation, and that trip's going to cost us $7,000. Well, I think that maybe between, I could say, well, between now and October, when we were thinking of going, that I have a good idea on how we can find the money.
Yeah.
Right. Versus rob Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other aspect too is you need to have a good hold of your emotional well-being, because you don't want a major drop where you've lost a lot of your gains to affect your relationship because you're bummed out. And if you can't articulate that, express what that emotion is, what's going on, that's going to hurt the relationship as well.
Yeah.
It's great when it goes up. It's like, hey, guess what? Everything's great. You feel wonderful. When it goes way down, it's like, oh man, you feel terrible. Maybe you feel like you aren't worthy, or you feel like you're, maybe a loser or something, but it has nothing to do with you. It's just what your emotions are going to be doing to you and how that can affect your relationship.
Yeah. I like one thing that basically says, everything works out perfectly for me. And I understand that things are outside of my control. And the only thing that's in control is how I react to the things that are outside of my control. That's what I have control over.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And that, so I think that if we learn to recognize our own patterns.
Yeah.
Because I can say myself, when things are moving good, I'm really excited. When things are on the downswing, it's like, oh, geez,
yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like, we become quiet, and it's that's part of our patterns.
Yeah, and I think having a little bit of diversification in your portfolio was good. I have, I think, eight or nine coins, and having some level of understanding as to why they're doing what they're doing, and to know why you're in the game, why you're doing this in the first place, and that you know what your plan is, what your boundaries are, and stick to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that manage your relationships with your crypto, with your money, and with your loved ones, with your friends, with your work. Everything's about a fine balance.
Yeah. And find people that are like-minded, that also believe in it the way that you do, because there may not be a lot of people out there that understand what it's about and think maybe you're a little bit crazy, or it's just a conspiracy kind of thing. And so you need to, be selective.
I am crazy, so that's okay.
Yeah. So and this gives you an opportunity to be tactful in your conversations with people that may not understand it, and it gives you an opportunity to practice that. Even with a loved one that may think that you're crazy and can't wrap their head around this whole idea of something that they can't see or put in their wallet physically, how that can be worth anything. Because what does it do? I don't even know what it does. What does it really do? So
I think that it goes back into the late 60s, early 70s, when they came out with the master charge. Remember that?
Yeah.
right? And it was like this little piece of plastic that gave you credit, and it's kind of like, yeah, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
And so, I think with over time, more people get into it. That so I think that the adoption, as we see the banks talking about it, and we see the credit card companies talking about it, and these, everybody talking about it, getting involved in it. So it's going to be these places like PayPal that's
Yeah.
going to allow you to hold your crypto,
Mm-hmm.
in their platform, not more like a bank account, right? So that you're receiving and spending, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to worry about the complexity of the keys and everything.
Yeah.
Because
Isn't
go ahead.
isn't Amazon looking at adopting one of the crypto? Is it Dogecoin that they're looking at, or which one is it? Do you know?
I think it's Ethereum. We're
Oh,
talking about
Ethereum.
Ethereum,
Okay.
and so that and the big thing is that now with the layer 2 scaling solutions like Polygon Matic and Immutable for the NFT platforms, that we see the fees for Ethereum transactions are plummeting, and that so yeah, Amazon definitely nodding their head heavily in the way of cryptocurrency. And again, I think that it's important that for a lot of people, it's just a way too much stress to be dealing with. Well, what are these recovery phrases and moving money between wallets and everything? Like, it just becomes super confusing. What they want to
Yeah.
do is they want to go to their phone, they want to click on buy, and they want to say pay now, and it's like, with how do you want to settle?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So you want to settle in US dollars, Canadian dollars, or Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, whatever
Mm.
the vendor is accepting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
So
it's still an exciting time we're living in.
yeah.
There's always some interesting news every day, 3 times a day. You can go check out the news, and there'll be something about crypto. There's stuff I was kind of perusing through on Google News, and it was talking about the Dogecoin and Shiba Inu coin, and so those are still on topic.
Yeah.
So there's interest.
Yeah. Definitely a very, very interesting time. Um, it's going to be interesting to watch what goes on in the coming days and weeks with Bitcoin, and whether we're going to actually do a test of a lower limit. You know,
Mm.
I don't know if we would test anything below 30,000. I don't feel like we're going to test 20,000, but I don't know.
Yeah.
As I said, we're already playing around the 50% off. 55% off would take us down around 29,000.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's interesting. It shouldn't surprise us because when I first kind of started to mess around with traditional trading, I got my tax-free savings account and bought a few stocks. The one thing that I was told that expected to drop 50% before it goes up 50%, which actually to get that gain, you have to go up 100% if it goes down that low. So a 50% drop now shouldn't really drive us too much around the bend because it's kind of, I guess, in a sense, the norm.
yes, yeah. I mean, investments, stocks and are volatile, especially when you're dealing with lower cap stocks. Cryptocurrency is volatile,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with altcoins.
Yeah. I mean, you could buy, you could say, cryptocurrency is crazy. I'm staying traditional. I'm putting a bunch of money into oil. Next thing you know, there's a tanker that spills. There's a major crisis because of weather that was not controllable. Next thing you know, there's an issue with the stocks you just bought and it drops because of environmental issues and all these other things. So you're going to get that kind of volatility and unforeseen, unexpected events happening that are going to affect whatever we're putting our investments into, our
Yeah.
money into the investments.
And this is the thing. You talk about money. We talk about right now. They're in the U.S. They're talking about a 4%, 5% inflation rate, and the talk on the sidelines, the unofficial, is that we're already in a 16 to 20% inflation rate.
Wow.
And the numbers just really aren't reflecting reality. And one of the reasons they're not reflecting reality is because many locations in North America have been in lockdown. So there isn't a lot of commerce going on a daily basis as there would be if the economy was fully open.
Yeah.
So I think that as we see the doors swinging open, as we see a greater distribution of COVID vaccines being that, and the economy starts opening more, we're definitely going to see some harder numbers on the inflation side, and then we're going to start feeling it.
Yeah.
That alone is going to drive the crypto. That's why people are looking to cryptocurrency. They're looking to Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Because it has been shown to go up in value consistently
Yeah.
over its, more than a decade of its life now.
And it's not susceptible to inflation either, the way that the fiat money is.
Yeah. So I think that it's going to be interesting. I look forward to checking in on Monday if it works.
Yeah.
And then we see how things go. And thanks everyone for checking us out. And those of you who stayed to the end, we appreciate you.
Yes.
And thanks for dropping by. Remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, do all those wonderful things. Let us know what you'd like us to talk about. And you have yourself a great Saturday evening, and get out there and spend some time with your friends, your family, your loved ones, and invest in those relationships.
Yeah, and the patios are open, so get out and have a drink or something.
Yeah, we did that last night.
Yeah, we're doing that tonight.
Awesome. Well, go enjoy, Bill. Thank you.
I will. Thank you,
Have
Jeff.
a great
Have a good
one.
weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.